Most people walk into the gym with a laundry list of exercises. Incline press, flat press, cable flies, 3 different row variations, lateral raises, front raises, rear delt flies, tricep extensions, bicep curls. They're chasing completeness, but ending up with redundancy. Here's what almost nobody realizes. Your upper body only moves in 4 directions, 4 fundamental patterns, and if you're stacking 10 exercises that all do the same thing, you're not training smarter. You're just training longer. Studies show that over 70% of recreational lifters have measurable strength imbalances in their shoulders. Not because they're lazy, because their programs are fundamentally broken. They're doing 5 chest exercises and 1 back exercise. They're hammering push movements and ignoring the pull. And the result isn't just aesthetics, it's shoulder impingement, rotator cuff irritation, and a physique that looks unfinished no matter how hard they work. But here's the other side of that coin. Research on minimal effective dose training shows that you can build serious muscle with shockingly little. Single-set protocols and trained lifters still produce hypertrophy when the intensity is there. Upper body muscles, specifically, respond to lower volumes than your legs. That means you don't need 15 exercises, you need the right 4. The difference between a program that works and one that wastes your time comes down to movement patterns, not muscle groups, not exercise variety for the sake of variety. Patterns. Your upper body moves in 4 distinct ways: horizontal push, horizontal pull, vertical push, vertical pull. Every single exercise you do falls into one of these categories. And when you understand that, everything changes, because now you're not asking which 10 exercises to do. You're asking which one exercise best covers each pattern. This is where most programs fail. They don't fail because people aren't working hard. They fail because the exercise selection is redundant. You'll see someone do flat bench, incline bench, and dips in the same workout. All 3 are horizontal pushes. All 3 hit the chest, front delts, and triceps in nearly identical ways. That's not balance. That's just 3 versions of the same movement. Meanwhile, they'll skip horizontal pulling entirely, or they'll do 1 lazy set of rows at the end when their energy's gone. The imbalance isn't accidental, it's structural, and it's why so many people plateau. Let's fix that. These 4 exercises will give you complete upper body development. They'll build your chest, back, shoulders, and arms without redundancy, without imbalance, and without wasting 2 hours in the gym. And if you think 4 exercises isn't enough, the science says otherwise. Let's break it down. The first pattern is horizontal push. This is any movement where you're driving weight away from your torso in a horizontal plane. The gold standard here is the barbell bench press, but dumbbell presses, push-ups, and machine presses all fit the bill. This pattern builds your pecs, your front delts, and your triceps. It's the movement that creates chest thickness and pressing power, and it's non-negotiable if you want a developed upper body. Here's what makes horizontal pushing so effective. It's a true compound movement. You're moving at the shoulder and the elbow simultaneously. That means multiple muscle groups are working together under heavy load. Your pecs are driving the bar off your chest. Your front delts are stabilizing and assisting. Your triceps are locking out the lift. And your core is bracing to keep your body stable on the bench. 1 exercise, multiple systems firing. That's efficiency. But here's where people go wrong. They think more is better, so they do flat bench, incline bench, decline bench, cable flies, dumbbell flies, and machine presses all in 1 session. 6 exercises that all train the same pattern. And then they wonder why their shoulders hurt and their back development lags behind. Because they're ignoring the opposing pattern. Horizontal pushing without horizontal pulling creates a disaster. Your chest gets tight, your shoulders roll forward, and you start loading the front of your shoulder joint in ways it wasn't designed to handle. That's how impingement happens. That's how rotator cuff issues start. Not from training too hard, from training unbalanced. So yes, you need a horizontal push, 1 good one. Bench press, dumbbell press, weighted push-ups. Pick the variation that feels best in your shoulders and allows the most range of motion. But don't stack 5 versions of the same thing. 1 quality movement is all you need. Because the magic isn't in doing more horizontal pushes, it's in balancing them with the next pattern. Horizontal pull. This is the movement that most people skip, and it's the one that makes the biggest difference. A horizontal pull is any exercise where you're drawing weight toward your torso in a horizontal plane. Barbell rows, dumbbell rows, cable rows, chest-supported rows. These movements build your mid-back, your rhomboids, your rear delts, and your biceps. They create back thickness. They pull your shoulders into better alignment. And they're the antidote to everything that horizontal pushing does to your posture. Here's why this matters. When you push, your shoulder blades move apart. That's protraction. When you pull horizontally, your shoulder blades squeeze together. That's retraction. If you only train one and not the other, you're asking for problems. Studies on recreational weight trainers show that people who favor pressing over pulling develop measurably tighter pecs, weaker upper backs, and reduced shoulder mobility. And that's not just a posture problem, it's a performance problem. Because when your shoulder mechanics are off, your pressing strength suffers. You lose stability, you lose the ability to generate force, and you increase your injury risk. The fix is simple. For every horizontal push, you need a horizontal pull. The ratio doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to exist. Some coaches recommend 2 pulls for every push, especially if you've been training imbalance for years. Others say 1-to-1 is fine as long as you're doing both with equal intensity. The point is, you can't skip this. Horizontal pulling isn't optional, it's foundational. And here's the bonus. Rows build your biceps without needing dedicated arm work. Every time you pull a barbell or dumbbell toward your torso, your biceps are working to flex your elbow. It's not isolation work, but it's enough stimulus to drive growth. Combine that with the upper back development, the rear delt activation, and the postural benefits, and you've got one of the most valuable exercises in your program. One movement, multiple benefits. That's the theme here. The third pattern is vertical push. This is any movement where you're pressing weight overhead, military press, dumbbell shoulder press, push press. These exercises build your shoulders, specifically your front and side delts. They also hit your upper chest and triceps, but the primary driver is the deltoid, and this is the movement that creates 3-dimensional shoulder development. Vertical pressing is different from horizontal pressing in one critical way: the angle. When you press overhead, your shoulder is in nearly full flexion. That's a completely different joint position than when you're benching. And because of that, you're recruiting muscle fibers that don't get maximally worked during horizontal presses. Your side delts, in particular, are far more active during overhead pressing than they are during bench pressing. That's why someone can have a massive bench press and still have narrow, underdeveloped shoulders. They're missing this pattern. But here's where it gets interesting. Even with overhead pressing, your side delts don't get fully maximized. The overhead press is still primarily a front delt and upper chest movement. The middle deltoid contributes, but it's not the star of the show. And that's where one small addition makes a massive difference. Lateral raises. Lateral raises are technically an isolation movement, not a compound lift. But they fill a gap that no compound movement completely covers. Your middle deltoid is responsible for shoulder width. It's the muscle that makes you look broad from the front. And while overhead presses do activate it, they don't provide enough targeted tension to fully develop it. Research comparing muscle activation during pressing versus isolation work shows that the middle delt gets significantly more stimulus during lateral raises than during any pressing variation. So here's the deal. Your vertical push pattern is the overhead press. That's your primary movement. But adding lateral raises at the end takes 2 minutes and creates a dramatically more complete shoulder. This isn't about piling on exercises for the sake of it. It's about recognizing that one small strategic addition fills a legitimate hole in the program. You're still working within a minimalist framework. You're just being smart about where that framework has natural gaps. Together, overhead presses and lateral raises build full, 3-dimensional shoulders without needing 4 or 5 different shoulder exercises. The overhead press handles the heavy vertical pushing and builds strength. The lateral raises add the width and detail that make your shoulders pop. And you're done. No front raises, no rear delt flies, no upright rows. Just 2 movements that complement each other perfectly. The fourth and final pattern is vertical pull. This is any movement where you're pulling weight down from overhead. Pull-ups, chin-ups, lat pull-downs. These exercises build your lats, your lower traps, and your biceps. They create back width. They improve grip strength. And they're the opposing pattern to vertical pressing, which means they keep your shoulders balanced and healthy. Here's why vertical pulling is so critical. Your lats are the largest muscles in your upper body. They run from your lower back all the way up to your upper arm. And when they're fully developed, they create that wide V-tapered look that makes your waist appear smaller and your frame appear bigger. But more importantly, they're essential for shoulder function. Your lats are internal rotators of the shoulder, which means they play a role in stabilizing the joint during pressing movements. Weak lats mean unstable presses. Strong lats mean better force transfer and healthier shoulders. But here's the thing, not all pulling is the same. Vertical pulling and horizontal pulling hit your back differently. When you row, you're retracting your shoulder blades and building mid-back thickness. When you pull vertically, you're pulling your shoulder blades down and building lat width. Both are necessary, one doesn't replace the other. And that's why you need both patterns in your program. There's a test that reveals whether your upper body strength is truly balanced. Can you do a pull-up with added weight that equals your bench press max? If you can bench 200 pounds, can you do a pull-up with a 200-pound load attached to your body? Most people can't, and that imbalance tells you everything. It means your pushing muscles are overdeveloped relative to your pulling muscles. It means your shoulders are out of balance, and it means you're at higher risk for shoulder issues down the road. The fix is simple. Train your vertical pull with the same intensity you train your vertical push. If you're doing heavy overhead presses, you need to be doing heavy pull-ups or weighted chin-ups. If you're pushing hard, you need to be pulling hard. The ratio should be roughly equal, not because of some arbitrary rule, but because that's what keeps your shoulders functioning correctly and your physique developing evenly. And here's the bonus. Pull-ups and chin-ups build your biceps better than most people realize. Every rep requires elbow flexion under load. That's direct bicep work. Combine that with the lat development, the grip strength, and the core stabilization required to control your body, and you've got another movement that delivers far more than just one muscle group. It's compound, it's efficient, and it's irreplaceable. So now you've got the 4 patterns: horizontal push, horizontal pull, vertical push with a side delt addition, vertical pull. Every major muscle in your upper body is covered. Your chest, your back, your shoulders, your arms. Nothing is redundant, nothing is missing. And the beauty of this approach is that it's scalable. Beginners can use these 4 patterns with lighter loads and higher reps to build a foundation. Advanced lifters can use these same 4 patterns with heavy weight and lower reps to keep progressing. The exercises don't change. The intensity does. Here's why this works from a scientific standpoint. Studies on minimal effective dose training show that compound movements produce the highest levels of muscle protein synthesis per unit of time. That means you're getting more growth stimulus per exercise than you would with isolation work. Multi-joint movements also trigger a larger hormonal response. When you squat, deadlift, press, or pull heavy, your body releases more growth hormone and testosterone than it does during isolation exercises. That systemic response supports muscle growth across your entire body, not just the muscles you're training in that moment. But the real key is recovery. Most people underestimate how much fatigue they're accumulating with high-volume programs. When you're doing 12 exercises per session, you're not just training your muscles. You're taxing your nervous system, your joints, and your connective tissue. And all of that needs to recover before you can train again. With a minimalist approach, you're concentrating your effort into a small number of high-quality movements. You're training intensely, but you're not burying yourself under unnecessary volume. That means you recover faster. And faster recovery means you can train more frequently or with more intensity. Both of those lead to better results. There's also a psychological component. When your program is simple, you can focus. You're not splitting your mental energy across 10 different exercises. You're pouring everything into 4 movements. You're chasing progress on those 4 lifts. And that focus compounds over time. Instead of your bench press going up 5 pounds while 9 other exercises stay flat, all 4 of your primary lifts are moving forward. That's measurable progress. And measurable progress is what keeps you motivated and consistent. Here's how to structure this in a week. You can train upper body 2 to 3 times per week. Each session includes all 4 patterns. Start with your horizontal push, bench press or push-up variation, 3 to 4 sets of 6 to 12 reps. Push hard but stay in control. Then move to your horizontal pull, barbell row or cable row, same structure, 3 to 4 sets, 6 to 12 reps. Focus on squeezing your shoulder blades together at the top of every rep. Next, hit your vertical push. Overhead press for 3 to 4 sets, then finish with lateral raises for 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps. Last, do your vertical pull. Pull-ups or lat pull-downs, 3 to 4 sets, aiming for 6 to 12 reps depending on your strength level. Rest 2 to 3 minutes between heavy sets on your presses and pulls. Rest 1 to 2 minutes on your lateral raises. The whole session should take 45 minutes to an hour. That's it. You're in, you're out, and every muscle in your upper body has been worked through its full range of motion in the pattern it was designed to move. Progressive overload is still the driver. Every week, you're trying to add weight, add reps, or improve your form. That's how you build muscle over time. Not by adding more exercises, by getting stronger on the exercises you're already doing. And because you're only tracking 4 main lifts, it's easy to see where you're progressing and where you're stuck. This approach works for everyone, but it's especially valuable for people who are short on time or who've been spinning their wheels on high-volume programs that aren't producing results. If you've been training for months without seeing real changes in your physique or your strength, the problem probably isn't effort. It's exercise selection. You're doing too much of the wrong things and not enough of the right things. Simplify, focus, progress, 4 exercises, 4 patterns, complete upper body development, no redundancy, no imbalance, no wasted time. Just intelligent training that respects how your body actually moves and builds muscle where it matters. This isn't a shortcut. It's the result of understanding what actually drives growth and cutting out everything that doesn't. Try it for 8 weeks. Track your lifts, watch your recovery improve, and see what happens when you stop chasing volume and start chasing progress on the movements that matter. If you want to take this further, I've got a video that breaks down the one movement that builds legs faster than traditional training. It's designed with the same efficiency mindset, and it'll save you from wasting time on exercises that don't deliver. Check it out on the screen.